Hi, I'm Laura, and welcome back to the Tarot Genie, where you receive intuitive insights from the tarot to your burning questions about business, career, creativity, entrepreneurship, personal development, spirituality, and more. Today, we're going to answer the question, how can you become more innovative in your business, in your career, in your workplace? How can you become more innovative, even in your personal life, at home, in your family? And we are going to tap into today the energy of Steve Jobs, because arguably he's one of the most innovative characters and developers of all kinds of products that we've had in recent years. And unfortunately, he died back in 2011. And I just thought that he came to mind because he was so innovative, creative, not the easiest person, and we'll talk about that in a moment. But just to tap into the energy of innovation, I thought would be, if we thought about him, that would be an effective kind of analogy to use. Now, just for your information, the word or the verb innovate is derived from the Latin word innovare, which means to make new. So innovation can mean creating new products, creating a new facet of something, but it's all about bringing some new energy and a new structure or format to a particular thing that may exist, or it can be about creating something entirely new. I don't have with me the book that I usually recommend because I listened to this book on Audible at least about 4 or 5 years ago, and that book was The Biography of Steve Jobs by Walter Isaacson. I will put the information in the show notes below so you can see, look up that book. There are a number of biographies about Steve Jobs. There are mixed reviews about this particular book, but when I listened to it on Audible, I was really into it. I really felt I learned a lot about Steve Jobs entirely as a person, his whole persona, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And there's some criticisms that maybe more was focused on the bad and the ugly than the good. But what we do know about Steve Jobs and why he was especially gifted in innovating, I think one, he did expose himself to a lot of influences. He took some Zen training and he dropped out of college. I think he went on some kind of meditative retreat for a while. And so later on, when he was developing his various products, including the iPhone, etc., he really liked simplicity. He loved simplicity, and he loved sleek design, which all came from that Zen perspective. So I recommend you look into that book or some other biography of Steve Jobs just to gain some more insights. I thoroughly enjoyed listening to that on Audible. And also, as always, I will be recommending a piece of music. And this time, I do have it ahead of time. The song that I recommend that you listen to, which I'll provide the link to, is called Drive by Incubus. So I think it's familiar to some of you. I've heard it before. So just check that selection out and perhaps listen to it every day throughout the week to amplify today's insights. Now, before we get started with actually choosing the cards, I did want to, this time, start a new thing. I'm starting with a signifier card. This card, and we're talking about innovation, the Two of Wands shows an individual, probably a young man, maybe late 20s, early 30s, who is looking out on this vista, perhaps out at the ocean, because we have this cove here, and he's atop a fortress of some kind. He's got the globe in his right hand, and it's as if he has a global vision. And that's what you need when you are innovating, is that you need to take a panoramic view of things around you, of various influences, of various themes, subjects. For example, the Beatles created their songs from looking at or listening to a whole wide selection of music, from the blues, jazz, etc. So it's taking in the Two of Wands in reference to the theme of innovation. Think about this card. Represents having that global perspective, that high view, and he's on atop the fortress, so he's got a vantage point. So think about that as we do this reading today. So let's get started right away. We'll be selecting 3 cards. How can you become more innovative this week will be the focus of our reading. I again am using the Giant Rider Waite deck so that you can see the cards more easily. I'll shake this up a few times in terms of I'll change it out. In future readings, I may use some other decks, but I just find this particular large deck easier for people to see the cards. Again, so what do we need to know to be more innovative this week, tapping into the energy of Steve Jobs, his energy, his spirit, imagining what he would say to us as we go about this question. Channeling, and so to speak, although I don't consider myself definitely not a channeler, but just in a way channeling the energy of Steve Jobs as we go through these tarot questions and get the reading. All right, selecting the 3 cards and put the other side. All right, card number 1 represents how can you nurture your creativity this week? And imagine, what would Steve Jobs suggest? How can you nurture your creativity this week? Interesting. The Major Arcana, the Moon card. Now what pops right out for me is that the moon is related to the subconscious, things that are buried, things that are hidden. The nighttime, we have this waxing and waning moon. We have the wolf and the dog baying at the moon, suggesting kind of primal energies. How can you, what can you do to nurture your creativity this week? I would say that the moon is advising us to tap into fully our intuition, and how apropos for when we were talking about Steve Jobs, because he had that speech at Stanford a number of years ago, and I believe he included quite a few references to listening to your intuition, listening to your heart and going with your heart. I think he said something along the lines of, life is so short, we don't have much time here, so you might as well live from your heart, follow your intuition where it will lead you. This week, I would suggest that you look into a variety of practices that will help you better tap into your intuition, whether that's meditation, whether it's taking some walks where you really have a, let's see how you say it, a rhythm to your walk, so that you kind of get into a flow state, or maybe you're paddle boarding. Some people, entrepreneurs like Allie Brown, paddleboard to tap into, to get into a meditative state. But find out, identify what works for you to get yourself into a meditative state so you can activate your intuition more fully. And this will be a way of nurturing your creativity and becoming more innovative this week. It's card number 1. Card number 2 represents what helps you to become more courageous in your actions. What helps you become more courageous in your actions? And the Ace of Wands reversed appears. When upright, well, I love all the aces, as I've mentioned in prior readings, because the aces feature this divine hand, this universal hand coming out of the ethers. There's a little bit of cloud. So you get the sense that it's a gift from the universe that's being presented to you. And this is definitely happening here. Wands relating to passion, fire energy, purpose. Because this is reversed, and the question was, what helps you become more courageous in your actions? Is, for me, this is suggesting that you need to deeply tune in to a fire, a passion that you have. Now, what is it in the area in which you wish to innovate? What really lights your fire? To use that old cliche, dating myself, but what really ignites your passion about this particular area? And that, what new energy, what new idea could you bring forth? And this suggests also that, since we talked about the moon advising you to tap into your intuition, say what helps you become more courageous is when you turn within and tune into that inner fire, whatever makes you spark. For me, I had a friend visit last week when I was away on vacation, and she's considering a change in her, a new career after not having worked for a number of years. And I said, one thing to think about is when you're a child, like what ignited your sparks? What things did you enjoy? For me, it was recording. I had a little audio cassette player. I love to record my voice. I love to record other things. So look into your past and deeply tune in to what ignites your passion, and that will allow you to be more courageous in your actions, because you know it's your true essence that is speaking. And finally, what do you need to start right now, this week, to become more innovative? Assuming that we are channeling, or at least tapping into, the energy of Steve Jobs. And here we have the Two of Cups. I love this particular image. We have the male and the female, and the caduceus, medical sign. We have this lion showing a lot of passion. And the Two of Cups, well, cups relate to feelings and the flow of energy. And this, what you need to get started right now, for me, this suggests teamwork of some kind, to become more innovative. It often, and I have to remind myself of this a lot because I tend to do a lot of solitary work, but the key action to take, one of the key actions to get started right away, is perhaps join forces with a partner and see how, together you can come up with something more innovative. Often, we get valuable ideas from speaking with others, from joining forces with others. It's hard to do everything alone. And so this, for me, suggests that you need to join forces, unite with someone else in a joint effort to become more innovative. This will be one way to help you become more innovative, because you'll have that input from other people. Now, of course, it's always valuable to have your own inner input, but I think the combination of from the heart within yourself, your intuition, and then joining forces with another person, tapping their ideas, tapping their creativity. The cups relate frequently to creativity, that flow of feeling from the heart. In conclusion, if we were tapping into the energy of Steve Jobs, acknowledging that arguably he's been one of the most innovative people in recent history, step one, take action on, tap into something that allows your allows your intuition to flow, to activate, to bubble up within you. And then step number two, what will allow you the courage to do that is to really stoke your own inner fire, tap into your own inner passion. That will give you the courage, because it will just give you that drive to move forward. Need to tap into it fully. That's why it's reversed. Tuning within, turning within. And finally, don't neglect to join forces with someone else this week to get started right away in jump-starting your intuition. Join forces in a very heartfelt way with someone else, someone who has similar goals, similar aspirations. I hope you've found this helpful. And as always, if you haven't already subscribed, please hit the subscribe button and the bell if you'd like to be notified of these weekly updates on Mondays. I will provide the information on the book I mentioned, the biography of Steve Jobs, and also the recommended selection of music. Have a wonderful week, and as always, remember, illumine your mind, inspire your life with the tarot.